Week 15 NFL. Oh man. NFL recap video here today. I'm not sure if there was any upsets. Let's find out. Start with the Thursday night game. Rams beat the 49ers 12-6 in a sloppy game, as ESPN calls it. Rams moved to 8-6. 49ers are 6-8. Stafford 16-27, 160 yards, no TDs, no picks. He isn't sacked. Williams run for 108 yards. Puka has 97 yards. Receiving. They do get 2 sacks from Turner. Darius Williams has a pick. Their kicker was 4 for 4. The 49ers kicker was 2 for 2. Purdy, 142 yards, no TDs, a pick. He's sacked 3 times. 31 has 57 yards rushing. And Kittle leads the way with 61 yards receiving. So they get no sacks. Nothing really happening here. But, it was just the game. A defensive struggle, I suppose. On to the Sunday games. Chiefs beat the Browns 21-7. Chiefs 13-1. Browns are 3-11. 3-11. Mahomes did suffer a high ankle sprain, I think I said in this game. But he was doing well. 159, 2 TDs, no picks. He isn't sacked. I didn't realize Carson Wentz is their backup. He came into it 220 yards. Hunt 45 yards rushing. Worthy rushes for a TD. Xavier Worthy. He also leads the way with 46 yards receiving. Noah Gray has a receiving touchdown, and Smith-Schuster has a receiving touchdown. For the Chiefs, they get sacks from. They get 5 sacks. Number 56. I don't know how to say his last name. Has 2 sacks, and some other guys got sacks in there. They get 4 picks. Hicks, Cook, Bolton, and McDuffie all have picks. Winston, 146 yards, no TDs, 3 picks. Thompson Robinson comes in 4 for 9, 18 yards, no touchdowns, and a pick. Jerome Ford has the touchdown for the Browns. It was a rushing touchdown on top of 84 yards. I want to say Chubb broke his foot in this game. Is that what they're saying? Judy, 11 catches, 108 yards. Chubb and number 11 lose fumbles. So they had 6 turnovers. So Chiefs defense is real good. And they, because the Browns can score points. They did not this week. Bengals beat the Titans 37-27. Bengals 6-8, Titans 3-11. There are a lot of 3-11 teams and worse in the league this year. Burrow 271 yards, 3 TDs, 2 picks. He sacked once. Chase Brown 97 yards rushing and a touchdown. Jamar Chase has 94 yards receiving on 9 catches. Higgins has a TD, and Chase Brown has a receiving TD as well. And Hubbard has a receiving TD. Burrow and Battle both lose fumbles. They have 1 sack. They get 4 picks from Stone, Taylor, Britt, Newton, and Hilton. They're 6-8 now. The Bengals are a solid team. The problem is, I don't think their D is that good at all. But they can score. But the problem is, it's going to be too little too late. Who knows? Mason Rudolph gets in 209 yards, 2 TDs, and a pick, not sacked. Levis, I'd assume, got benched because he had 89 yards, no TDs, and 3 picks. Pollard, 45 yards rushing at TD. Spears rushes for a TD. Spears also has 87 yards receiving in a TD. And Weil has a receiving TD. Pollard and Levis lose fumbles. They get the 1 sack. Picks from Morley and Gifford. Titans 3-11. Washington beats the Saints 20-19. Something happened on the refs messed up the clock or something at some point. I didn't read the thing, but both teams were apparently annoyed. So Washington is 9-5. The Saints are 5-9. Daniels, nice little game here. 226 yards, 2 TDs, no picks. He is sacked 8 times. He rushes for 66 yards as well. Brian Robinson Jr. rushes for 65. McLaurin, 73 yards receiving, 2 TDs. Guy's having a great year. They get sacks from 3 different players. A pick from number 0. I am not saying his name. Sane Ristel. Their kicker was 2 for 3. But I don't know how long that field goal was. New Orleans Rattler, 10-21, 135 yards, a TD, no picks. Hayner, 4 for 10, 49 yards, no touchdowns and a pick. Cedric Wilson Jr. throws a touchdown pass. I don't know if he's a receiver or not. They barely run the ball, 69 yards as a team. Scantling leads the way with 64 yards touching. 64 yards touching. Wow. 64 yards receiving. I'm about to say touchdown, and instead I combine the 2 words. Jeez Louise. Kamara has a receiving touchdown. Moreau has a receiving touchdown for the Saints. They get sacks from a bunch of different dudes. 2 for Chase Young. 2 for Cameron Jordan. And a bunch of 4 other guys have a sack apiece. Ravens beat the Giants 35-14. Ravens 9-5. Giants 2-12, and they go 0-8 at home. Yikes! Usually, when you're bad, your wins usually typically come at home. You squeeze out a couple of wins at home. That's bad. Lamar Jackson 21-25, 290 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks. He's sacked twice. Henry 67 yards rushing. Bateman 2 receiving TDs on top of 80 yards receiving. 61 yards receiving and a TD for Justice Hill. Andrews and Walker both have receiving touchdowns. Lamar Jackson does fumble once. They get sacks from 3 different players. Washington has a pick for 32 yards. Well, it looks like Drew Lock experiment's over in New York. Boyle 12-24, 123 yards, TD and a pick. Tommy DeVito played 10-13, 68 yards, no TDs, no picks. Singletary has a rushing touchdown. Neighbors has 82 yards receiving and a touchdown. They still managed 3 sacks, though. Giants are not good. There are some bad teams in the league. Like I said, the league is weak. Like it's pretty top heavy actually, but I feel like it's weak in the sense that the bad teams are bad, man. I think there's 9 teams that are like have double-digit losses or some shit. Or 7 is 9 teams. I don't know. More teams are going to end up with double-digit losses. Cowboys beat the Panthers 30-14. Cowboys 6-8. The Cowboys are 5-2 on the road, so they're 1-6 at home. Damn. Panthers are 3-11 now. Cooper Rush, 214 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He sacked once. Dowd, 149 yards rushing. Lamb, 116 yards receiving and a TD, 9 catches. Brooks and Tolbert both have catches. They both have touchdowns. Cooper Rush fumbles once. Well, he fumbles twice, loses 1. 2 sacks from Parsons, and 4 other players have a sack. Picks from number 24 and number 50, Kendricks. Bryce Young, a TD, 2 picks for the Panthers. He sacked the 6 times, 219 yards. Hubbard, 32 yards rushing. Bryce Young rushes for a touchdown. Coker, 110 yards and a receiving touchdown. Bryce Young does lose 2 fumbles. And they get 1 sack. What game was that? A battle of bottom feeders. Jets beat the Jags 32-25. Jets 4-10. Jags 3-11. Jets are wearing their old school, not their old school, the uniforms, but the uniforms they kind of had in the 80s and a lot of the 90s. Rodgers, 289 yards, 3 TDs, no picks. Rodgers rushes for 45 yards. Brees Hall has a rushing touchdown. Devontae Adams, 9 catches, $198, and 2 receiving TDs. Garrett Wilson has a receiving TD. They get 2 sacks. Picks from Mills and Gardner. Cam Little, Jacksonville's kicker, was 4 for 4 in field goals. Mac Jones, 2 TDs, 2 picks, 294 yards for the Jags. Etienne Jr., 65 yards rushing. Brian Thomas Jr., 105 yards receiving, 10 catches, 2 TDs. Brenton Strange, 73 yards receiving. They get 1 sack. A lot of teams are going to be fighting for that number 1 pick. Texans beat the Dolphins 20-12. Texans 9-5. They won the division because Denver beat the Colts. Dolphins are 6-8. So I wanted to take. This was a good weekend for Denver, and I will get more into it. One of the reasons was the Dolphins lost. Texans 9-5. Dolphins 6-8. Tua, 196 yards, TD, and 3 picks. He sacked 3 times. 28 has 41 yards rushing. Washington, 52 yards receiving. Smith has the receiving TD for the Dolphins. Tua fumbles as well and loses it. They do get 4 sacks. Stroud, 2 TDs, no picks. He sacked 4 times. 131 yards rushing. They rushed the ball for 77 yards as a team. Nico Collins, 2 receiving TDs. Mixon, 33 yards receiving to lead the way. Stroud loses a fumble. They do get the 3 sacks. Stingley Jr. and Bullock. Well, Stingley Jr. had 2 picks. Bullock had a pick as well. So Texans take the division again. Denver beats the Colts 31-13. Denver 9-5. The Colts 6-8. So obviously Denver helped themselves here. The Colts were winning this game at the half, and I talked about the other video I did yesterday. Jonathan Taylor just dropped the ball on the goal line and cost that destroyed their momentum. They would have been up 2 scores, and then it went all downhill after that. I don't know why players keep doing this shit, letting the ball go at the goal line. Dude, get in the end zone. Get to the back of the end zone before you chuck the ball or drop the ball. I remember Deshaun Jackson famously did this. This gets done like 2 times a year, and motherfuckers do not learn their lesson to not do this. Especially in a playoff race. Come on, dude. Yeah, because they were losing at the end of the 3rd quarter, Denver, and they scored 21 points in the 4th. Richardson for the Colts, 172 yards, no TDs, 2 picks. He sacked twice. Richardson rushes for a touchdown, though, and Jonathan Taylor did have 107 yards rushing. Pittman Jr., 58 yards receiving to lead the way. Pittman Jr. fumbles, Mitchell fumbles, and Taylor fumbled when he threw it out of the end zone, essentially, or dropped it and it went out of bounds, or whatever the hell. They do get 3 picks. I'm sorry, yeah, you said Cross, Franklin, and Womack the third have picks. It was kind of a story of 2 halves for Bo Nix. 3 TDs, 3 picks. He sacked once. 130 yards. He did not have a great game. But he did. The plus is he was doing bad and then turned it around, which is a good sign, right? He didn't end up throwing 6 picks or some shit. Denver has no running game. 72 yards as a team. Bo Nix leads the way at 23 yards. They need a running back desperately. Sutton, they didn't do much offense. Neither team really did much. Although the Indianapolis ran the ball pretty well. Sutton has a receiving TD. Troutman has a receiving TD. And Atkins has a receiving TD. Denver got a return touchdown from Nick Benito. They were going to try trick play the Colts. And they passed it to the receiver. And it ends up being a fumble return because it was a lateral. He tries to throw it back to Richardson. Benito just cuts it off and runs in. He also had a sack, I believe. Half a sack. Surtain the second and Brandon Jones have picks for Denver. They had a bunch of fumble recoveries. Their D is good. Denver's D is good. Denver has their first winning record since 2016, guaranteed. They did the one thing. Now they need to win one more game to get into the playoffs. Let's see if they do it. Bills beat the Lions 48-42. Bills 11-3, Lions 12-2. That snapped the Lions. Was it 11-game winning streak or something? So the Bills bounced back from that loss to the Rams. It was an offensive show, although the Bills took a bigger lead, and then the Lions could cut into it, but they never really were a threat at the end of into the fourth quarter because they were down. Yeah, they were down 35-14, 35-21 going into the fourth quarter. The Lions. Josh Allen, 362 yards, 2 TDs, no picks. He's not sacked. Cook rushes for 105 yards and 2 TDs. Allen has another 2 TDs rushing. Ty Johnson, 114 yards receiving. Shakir and Davis have the receiving touchdowns for the Bills. They get 3 sacks from 3 different players. I think this is the first time I read this ever happened. Goff has 4 yards, 5 TDs, no picks. Like the first time something like this happened, and the team lost. He sacked 3 times. Gibbs, 31 yards rushing and a TD. They don't rush the ball well. St. Brown, 193 yards on 14 catches for a TD and a TD. Gibbs has a TD. Williams has a TD. Patrick has a TD. And Skipper has a TD. Receiving as well. St. Brown loses a fumble. That could have been the deciding factor. That kicker missed 1 field goal. He was 6 of 6 on extra points. The Lions and the Vikings now both 12-2. The Bills needed that to kind of hold on to maybe getting home field. They want Mahomes to have his high ankle sprain be a real problem. Because the Chiefs have Denver, the Steelers, and the Texans. So if he doesn't play, that's a tough run. If he plays, they realistically probably win 2 of the 3. But the Bills are holding on slim hopes. The Steelers are out of that contention realistically now. Because they lose to the Eagles 27-13. Have the Eagles won 10 in a row? Eagles are 12-2. Steelers are 10-4. Eagles are almost a quiet 12-2. Russell Wilson, 128 yards, TD, no picks. They run the ball for 56 yards as a team. Freiermuth has the receiving touchdown. Austin III, 65 yards receiving. Russell Wilson loses a fumble. TJ Watt, 2 sacks. Jalen Hurts, 2 TDs, no picks, 290 yards. He sacked 3 times. Barkley rushes for 65 yards. Hurts rushes for a touchdown. Hurts has a lot of rushing touchdowns. In his career, I feel like he almost has 50 rushing TDs. I gotta look at that in a minute. A.J. Brown, 110 yards receiving and a touchdown. Devonta Smith, 109 yards receiving and a touchdown. Hurts loses a fumble, and Deshaun loses a fumble. They get 2 sacks. I want to see. Hurts has a ton of rushing touchdowns in his career. Poor Barkley's like, dude, you're taking my touchdowns. I want to see his rushing touchdown stats. Oh my God. Here we go. He has 55 rushing TDs in his career. He's been in the league 5 years. He had 3 in his rookie year. Then he has 10 in 21, 13 rushing touchdowns in 22, 15 last year. He has another 14 this year. Holy shit. That's a lot of rushing TDs. And a good amount of rushing yards. That's what you need. You need your quarterbacks to be dual threats in this day and age, almost. You really do. Bo Nix is a decent runner. He's got like 5 rushing touchdowns this year. I don't think Stroud runs for a bunch of rushing TDs, does he? Williams can run, right? I don't know. Lamar Jackson will get you rushing TDs. Murray will get you rushing TDs. Is there anybody else that does? I'm sure there are. Bryce Young is probably a pretty good runner. I know Bo Nix is. Even Burrow can run a little bit. You need a dual threat quarterback. Tua, I feel, can run. Josh Allen can run too. Duh. He has a ton of rushing touchdowns as well. So everybody, you need to be able to rush for touchdowns. Where was I? Bills, Rams? No, wait. Oh, no. What did this do? I don't know what this just did. It flipped the games around. That's what I get for looking at Hurts' rushing stats. Rushing DAs. That was Steelers-Eagles, right? Okay. Cardinals beat the Patriots 30-17. Cardinals 7-7. Patriots 3-11. Another one of those 3-11 teams. May, 202 yards, a TD and a pick. He sacked twice. Stevenson, 69 yards rushing. May rushes for a TD. There he goes. Another quarterback. Drake May, rookie. He's running for TDs, too. Oh, my God, this fucking thing. Bourne, 44 yards receiving. Douglas has the receiving TD. They get no sacks. The Cardinals. Kyler Murray, 224 yards. Passing, no TDs, no picks. He is not sacked. Connor, 110 yards rushing and 2 TDs. McBride, 87 yards receiving. How much going on here? They get 2 sacks. A pick from Murphy Bunting. Cardinals needed that win. They got to keep pace in that division. Because I think it's now 8. Is it 8-6, 8-6, 7-7, 6-8 in that division? So Purdy's another one who could run too. So everybody runs pretty much, outside of a few guys, probably. I feel like the days of the just sit back, and I mean they've been going for a while. The sit back and the pocket passer kind of has disappeared anyway. You know, Peyton Manning was one, Brady was one, but Baker Mayfield runs too. Like pretty much everybody. Can at least almost any quarterback now can run. Some just are incredible at it, but I feel like anybody can book it now if they have to. All right, that was Cardinals, Patriots, Bucks. This is a win, good win for Denver here. Bucks beat the Chargers 40-17. Chargers 8-6, Bucks 8-6, and the Chargers play Denver on Thursday this week, so Denver can get into the playoffs and really solidify maybe a higher position in the playoffs if they win. They could very easily lose as well. Baker Mayfield, 288 yards, 4 TDs and a pick. Sacked once. Irving, 117 yards rushing. White has 60. They rushed for 223 yards as a team. Mike Evans, 9 catches, 159 yards, 2 TDs. McMillan has a receiving TD, and White has a receiving TD. White loses a fumble, doesn't matter. 3 sacks. Dean has a pick. Chargers were winning this game, and then the second half, the Bucks went nuts. Herbert, 195 yards, 2 TDs and a pick. He sacked 3 times. They run the ball for 32 yards on 11 carries. This guy McConkey, I think he's a rookie, 58 yards receiving and a TD. Johnston has the other receiving TD. Smart with 2 Ts loses a fumble. still has the pick. Nice win, though, Denver. Denver could... I'm hoping Denver comes out nuts, because if they win this game, they're in the playoffs for the first time in years since the Super Bowl. So, hopefully they come out just full force. Packers beat the Seahawks 30-13. It's weird that the Seahawks are 3-5 at home. They're usually a very good home team. 8-6 Seahawks, 10-4 Packers. The poor Packers are 10-4 and they're 2 games out of their division lead, behind 2 teams. Love 229 yards, 2 TDs, no picks. Jacobs 94 yards rushing and a TD. 2 receiving TDs for Doubs. Jacobs loses a fumble. 2 sacks for number 55. Kingsley, I don't know how to say the last name. A couple other dudes, 4 other dudes. Actually, I'm sorry, 5 other dudes get sacks. They have 7 sacks as a team. Cooper and Valentine with the picks. Nice defensive game for them. I think Geno Smith might have got hurt here as well. Yeah, he definitely did. 149 yards, no TDs and a pick. He sacked 3 times. Howell comes in. 24 yards, no TDs and a pick. He sacked 4 times. Charbonnet, 54 yards rushing and a TD. Oh, sorry, Walker got hurt a couple weeks ago. Number 11, 83 yards receiving. They get no sacks. Seahawks, maybe the Rams are technically in first now. I don't know. It's coming down to it in some divisions. The two, well, now that Houston's won it, that's done. But now the Steelers only have a game on Baltimore. Obviously, the Chiefs won their division. The Bills won their division. The Eagles have won their division. Even the Lions and the Vikings are tied. And then the NFC South is tight. Bucks are 8-6. Falcons are 7-7. And I gotta do the other games. And the 2 Monday night games. And the NFC West is tight. Vikings beat the Bears Monday Night Football 30-12 to go to 12-2. Bears 4-10. They are 0-7 on the road. The Bears, they have lost 10 in a row. No, 8 in a row. Sorry. Williams 191 yards and a TD, no picks for Chicago. Swift 79 yards rushing. Keenan Allen has 82 yards and receiving touchdown. Williams loses a fumble. They get 2 sacks. They get a pick from Stevenson. Darnold, 231 yards. Passing a TD and a pick. He sacked twice. Aaron Jones, 86 yards rushing and a touchdown. Akers has a rushing touchdown. Justin Jefferson, 7 catches, 73 yards and receiving TD. They get the 2 sacks, no picks. See, I was talking about Darnold. They don't want to give him the money or whatever. That was rumors for Darnold. And I forgot they drafted McCarthy as a QB. So I'm like, oh, so now they kind of, you know what they need to do? They got to say, listen, Darnold, we'll give you 2 years at like $40 million, you know, just to keep him around for a couple of years. But now they have McCarthy. What do you do in this position? I guess it depends on the playoffs, right? If he gets you to a Super Bowl or something, I feel like you got to throw him the money. And the last game of the week was an offensive display. Falcons beat the Raiders 15-9. Raiders 2-12. Falcons 7-7. The Raiders are probably the worst team. The Raiders and the Giants are the 2 worst teams in the league. I feel like the Raiders they are like, listen, we are straight up tanking. Guys are hurt. They were 2-2, I think. The Raiders in the beginning of the season. Falcons are 7-7. Raiders 2-12. Cousins 112 yards of TD and a pick. He sacked 3 times. Robinson 125 yards rushing. Drake London 53 yards receiving and a TD. They do get 4 sacks, 2 from Malone. Oh, Justin Simmons, the old Bronco, has a pick, and so does Bates the third. Ritter 208 yards, a TD, 2 picks. He sacked 3 times for the Raiders. They run the ball 65 yards as a team. Abdullah has a receiving TD. Myers leads the way with 59 yards receiving. Mattinson loses a fumble. They do get 3 sacks from 3 different players. Bears, and Spillane as a pick. Just another offensive display. Falcons needed that win. They do not play the Bucs. They beat the Bucs both times this year. They don't play them anymore. That still can come down to the wire. And the Falcons will win the tiebreaker because that wins. Let's take a look at Week 16 real quickly. Whoops. Thursday Night Football, we got a good one. Broncos, Chargers. It's playoff implications. Another good one. Texans and Chiefs on Sunday. Oh, sorry, that's Saturday, so we got some Saturday games in the mix now. And you got Steelers and Ravens on Saturday. So right out of the gate, those three games, the Texans Chiefs don't have playoff implications, really. Seeding more so, but not. They're both in the playoffs. Giants, Falcons, Lions, Bears, Browns, Bengals. So the Bengals are going to get to 7-8. Then they got to play Denver. They can end up going 9-8. Rams got the Jets, Eagles, and Washington. The Commanders and the Eagles. That's a good matchup. Cardinals, Panthers, Vikings, Seahawks could be good. Pats, Bills. I think the Bills have Patriots, Jets, Patriots to end the season. So they really want the Chiefs to stumble. They probably won't, but they want it. Jags and Raiders, game of the week. Chiefs and Dolphins and 49ers could be good. Cowboys, Bucks could be decent. Saints and Packers on Monday Night Football. Another week in the books here for the NFL, but thanks for checking this out, and have a good day.